Alright guys, I'm gonna be honest. It is late as shit. I have spent the past 3 hours after the pay-per-view trying to fix this computer, and I think I finally have it fixed. I've recorded this video, or I've attempted to try to record this video now 3 times. I'm exhausted, but I'm gonna still give you guys a good video. I love talking about MMA, so yeah, I'm just telling you guys, this is the kind of stuff I go through, so if you guys just don't mind hitting the subscribe button, because this is some dedication. I'm trying to get a video out at 10 a.m., and honestly, at this rate, I'm gonna be up at 10 a.m. I'm dragging it. I'm not gonna be up that late, but it is pretty late. Like, it's like about to be 6 a.m. But we had an amazing UFC 291 pay-per-view, and this was obviously a card that I think a lot of us expected to be really good. A lot of household names: Derrick Lewis, Tony Ferguson, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, and I think it delivered. Definitely tied with maybe that Adesanya vs Pereira card. I have to look back on that card to see which one was the better card, and this one was hard to deny. A lot of great moments, a lot of sad moments. Before we get into it, like I said, just please hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share for the algorithm. It would help me out. And yeah, to start it off, I just want to start in chronological order. Kevin Holland, Michael Chiesa. Now, this was a fight that I was excited for because, as you guys know, I am a Kevin Holland fan. Like, I do like Kevin Holland. I know that it might be an unpopular take, and it's not that people necessarily don't like him, but the response I usually get is, hey, you know he's never gonna be champion, right? Or just criticizing him in some sort of way. Guys, like, I just because a fighter isn't champion doesn't mean I don't fuck with them. I like Kevin Holland, and that's that, right? So, for a Kevin Holland fan, I was proud of this performance because it was only a little over 2 years ago where Kevin Holland was getting 50-45 by Marvin Vettori and Derek Brunson, and it was the most enraging thing to watch as a Kevin Holland fan, because it's just like, if you had the takedown defense, man, you would have beaten these guys. Like, he hurt Marvin Vettori, he hurt Derek Brunson, and I was just raging. That is actually one of the reasons why I hated Marvin Vettori with a passion until he stepped up against Paulo Costa when Paulo Costa fucked up with the whole weight thing. That is actually when I started liking Marvin Vettori. So now I'm actually a Marvin Vettori fan, but back then I used to be a massive hater. But that's just a side story. Great performance from Kevin Holland. Fought Michael Chiesa. I predicted a first round knockout, first round sub instead, and Michael Chiesa has been submitted with a Darce choke before, submitted by Vicente Luque and I believe someone else. And I did kind of think this because, look, Kevin Holland did submit Tim Means with a Darce choke, submitted a few other dudes with a Darce choke. That's like his go-to. And I was thinking, hey, he might submit him with a Darce, but I didn't say it. So once again, I should just start saying everything that I think in the video, because then I would have been cool, could have clipped it, and maybe people would have appreciated the opinion and been like, man, this guy is on the money. But still, I'll handle it. Got the round right, got the fighter right. I think for Kevin Holland, I think an interesting matchup next is maybe the winner or even loser of Ian Gary versus Jeff Neal. That's going to happen next pay-per-view. However, I do think another interesting matchup that I don't know if a lot of people are going to say, but maybe the winner or even loser, like I said, of RDA versus Vicente Luque. I think especially if it's RDA, I would love a fight night main event, RDA versus Kevin Holland. They don't have a main event for that Brazilian fight night that's going to be happening in November, I think. But if they don't, maybe RDA, if he wins that one in quick fashion, maybe he fights Kevin Holland, 5-round main event. Tell me you're not. Tell me you're not in. And for Michael Chiesa, I think he's retired. Took off the gloves, probably just gonna do his ESPN desk job now. And good for him, man. He's had a good career, had a lot of highlights, fought at the highest level. Didn't make it to the championship, of course, but still a very high-level guy, and, you know, respect to Michael Chiesa. I like that guy. So next up on the card was Tony Ferguson versus Bobby Green, and, you know, as a Tony Ferguson fan, I couldn't have been prouder, man. Tony Ferguson went out there, knocked down Bobby Green on the feet in the first round. Second round comes out, grappling Bobby Green, hurting him on multiple occasions, throwing sand at him. It was a classic Tony Ferguson. Like, third round, same thing, mixing up the striking, elbow, spinning elbows, and it was just a classic Tony Ferguson out there. And man, like, perfect performance from him, and then he retired, walked off in a sunset. And man, I think we could talk about Tony Ferguson being one of the greatest of all time now. So enough of that, though. Let's just talk about the next fight. You guys are gonna make me talk about it, aren't you? Alright, guys. Now, as you guys probably know, that is not what happened. Tony Ferguson loses again. It's tough, and this was the toughest Tony Ferguson fight I ever had to watch as a fan. The Justin Gaethje one was tough, and all of the other ones were tough to a certain extent, but at least the other ones you can, you know, say, hey, they were high-level guys, or maybe, you know, he just got out-grappled, or maybe he had some success in the beginning, or maybe it was just a fun fight against a legend. You could make those excuses. For this one, it was just straight reality. Like, it was, the best way I could compare it is as if, like, my own dad stepped into the octagon, and I knew he was just about to get a brutal beating, and not just a knockout, a brutal beating. And it's just that feeling you have, man. Like, I did not want to watch this fight. Like, it was tough, and I could just be just a big fan of Tony Ferguson, and maybe I'm just dragging it for anybody like maybe I really wouldn't care, but just made me think, man, about his family and what they must be thinking watching this and watching him kind of just delude himself, if we're gonna be honest. Like, he's just deluded himself. I may make another video about this later this week, but it really did upset me to watch that performance, and then to see Tony Ferguson go out cold by submission in the last few seconds seconds of that fight, I just knew he was going to not tap out. If you know Tony Ferguson, you know he's not going to tap out. It was weird he tapped against Nate Diaz, but other than that, he doesn't tap. Once Bobby Green got over at half guard, I knew it was done, man, and I was like, dude, he's going to go out cold, and I was just like, oh, he has it, and I just knew it. It was tough to watch, and it's tough to even talk about, honestly, but it's ridiculous because I don't know the guy, but it just is hard to think about the families, just everything like that, and to watch Tony Ferguson essentially get kind of battered. Like, let's be honest, around the second and third round, Tony did have some success in that first round, knocked him down a couple times, stunned him a few times in the fight, but it's just that weird style that Tony Ferguson has was good for his youth when he could rely on his reflexes, his speed. You can't necessarily rely on those factors as you get older, so if you have a less traditional stance and a less traditional foundation, you're not going to be able to do as well as some older guys with a more traditional style. That's why I think someone like Robbie Lawler did pretty well even later into his career. He just retired with a first round knockout. I think it's because he has a very traditional style. He's a boxer, good takedown defense, his very basic understandings of MMA, and obviously is a very high level guy. I'm not trying to demean him in that way, but I'm just saying it's a good thing he has good foundation. He has good fundamentals. That's what's going to help you as you get older fighting in MMA, and someone like Tony Ferguson, he's not made to fight when he's old. It's just not his style. You could just tell he requires a lot of speed, reflexes, and you just look so slow out there. Bobby Green had a good performance, subbed him with an arm triangle, impressive, and I didn't even know that he was a black belt. Apparently he is. I really do hope Tony retires. I don't think he's going to. I cannot handle watching this guy fight again, man. Like, who are they going to give him to? Him versus Patty? I mean, that's the only matchup I could think of that would be a fun matchup. Just because as bad as Tony Ferguson looked last night, I think Patty's still a fair matchup. That's how much I think Patty sucks. But in all seriousness, honestly, I think even Patty beats him. I hate saying that. I hate watching, you know, your fucking favorite fighter just get old. It sucks, dude. Like, please just retire. For my sake, please. But in all seriousness, I hate when people say for fighters to retire, but this is one of those cases, man. Tony Ferguson is fortunate enough to have not gotten knocked out last night, but brain damage is nothing to play around with. He's 40 years old. I said this when I recorded the video before, but my thing is like, hey, Tony Ferguson, he's a pretty popular UFC fighter, right? He's not like this unranked dude that doesn't have a following. Like, he's pretty known even amongst casual fans. I feel like you could do meet and greets, you know, training seminars, do some sort of autograph stuff, maybe get a job with the UFC. I think for a while he was doing some sort of paneling there. You can make money. And I'm pretty sure he has money. But the thing is, it's sad to say because with fighters like this, it's not about money. They don't do it for money. They do it for the ego. They do it for their own dreams, their own aspirations. And yeah, so you're not really going to be able to convince them. All right, the next fight I want to talk about is Derrick Lewis versus Marcos De Lima. Now, you guys might not have seen it, but Saturday morning, I released a video talking about Wonder Boy and his fight being canceled, as well as Derrick Lewis. And I predicted Marcos De Lima was going to win. And I predicted via sub or knockout, some sort of finish. But nothing was really able to be shown by Marcos De Lima because Derrick Lewis runs into the fight, flying knee, lands flush on the chin, gets some ground and pound, and eventually wins the fight. I don't think Marcos even landed a shot, right? Like, I mean, I didn't even see the knee that knocked him out at first. So, great performance from Derrick Lewis. This was his last fight on the UFC contract. I was pretty surprised about that. He is a fan favorite, but I guess they figured, hey, if you lose this fight, what else are we going to do with you? But it seems like to me, he wants to be in the UFC, so it's more of their issue. So, hopefully they re-sign him. I haven't seen some people say, hey, he might join the PFL and fight Ngannou in a rematch. And Derrick Lewis, he might make a lot of money doing that. You know what I mean? Like, that's a big fight for the PFL. That'll get people to watch for sure. But yeah, I think most likely Derrick Lewis will probably get signed to the UFC. I think, I don't know, it's a tough one. And if he does, and if Volkov loses the fight against Tuivasa, why not run that one back? Or you could do, fuck it, Chris Barnett versus Derrick Lewis would be a fun matchup as well. A lot of fun matchups you can make at the heavyweight division for Derrick Lewis. So I don't think he's done yet, especially with that big knockout win and the whole crowd going crazy for Derrick Lewis. All right, but next up, co-main event, Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz. I predicted Alex Pereira via knockout. And I said to you guys, hey, if the fight stays on the feet, I think Alex is going to win by knockout. And in a kickboxing fight, I think he absolutely would have knocked him out. But this is MMA, and the threat of the takedown is always there. And Jan made that quite clear. Right away, went for the takedown. Pereira had good defense at first, but Jan finally got the takedown, got his back for the whole round. Clear round one for Jan Blachowicz. And from that moment, he was gassed. And I did mention to you guys, I said, hey, he might get gassed if he grapples so much because he isn't such a grappling heavy guy. Plus, the fight is at altitude, which altitude luckily didn't play into effect in a lot of these fights, mostly because I think they were quick finishes. But I was glad to see that because the Luke Rockhold versus Paulo Costa fight to me really got ruined because of the whole altitude thing. Like, the fight was good. It was a great fight, don't get me wrong, but I just felt like it wasn't exactly the best representation of their skills, and Leon got ruined. And I felt like the last Salt Lake card, but maybe since the last card, there's more awareness now, new technology, who knows. Whatever it was, I felt like there was a lot better performances this time around. But regardless, you know, Jan gassed out in that second round. Clear round for Pereira. It was pretty close, though. I think that ending flurry from Pereira really got him that round. I think it was pretty clear. far. So we're 1-1 going into the third, and the third one was razor close in my opinion. Like, I think it was really, really close. I didn't really see so many people agreeing with me, but I thought Jan won the round. I gave it to Jan on first viewing. Didn't watch it again, actually. I haven't watched the fights back because I've been too busy with this fucking computer. But the reason I gave it to him was the takedown at the end, and I get it. A lot of you guys are going to say that's not the MMA criteria, and to me, I agree with you guys. It might not be the MMA criteria, and this is one of those things where the round is that close where you're going to have to look at the criteria. And if you're looking at the criteria, I can understand Alex won, and I don't mind Alex winning. As you guys know, I don't really complain about decisions much anyway. Really close. I gave it to Jan, but I figured they were gonna give it to Pereira. I even said I think they're just gonna give it to Pereira, but it did seem like a lot of people thought it was clear 2 and 3, so I gotta rewatch it. Maybe I'm just wrong, but don't mind the decision at all. I'm not complaining here, not calling it a robbery or anything like that, just to get it clear. And Jeff Vermeer, Alex versus Yuri needs to happen next. That is going to be a massive fight, a fun fight for both guys. It's going to really put both guys on the map because that is a matchup that everybody knows is going to be a crazy fight. Now, I'll make a prediction for that later. I want to make a separate video for the main and co-main event throughout the week, so tune in for that video, and I'll be predicting how I think that fight goes, at least now, when it's going to happen, all this and that. And for Jan, I think that's it. I think he's going to retire. He's 40 years old. DC kind of said something on the broadcast alluding to Jan saying something like this was his last run at the title, and obviously he lost. I don't think it's necessarily his last run at the title. There's a scenario where Yuri knocks out Pereira, and then maybe Jan just fights another guy, maybe Magomed Ankalaev in Abu Dhabi, knocks him out, and then maybe it's just back in the title picture. He is getting up there in age, so I don't blame him, but I don't think it's necessarily impossible for him to win the title. I'm not saying I think it's going to happen. I'm just saying it's possible. And for the main event of the evening, Justin Gaethje, Dustin Poirier, we knew that this was going to be a crazy fight. Both guys go forward, and first round I gave to Dustin. It was really close, but that left-hand shot that he hit Justin Gaethje with really stunned him, and you got to give it to Dustin Poirier because of that. Second round ended rather quickly. As you guys know, big head kick knockout from Justin Gaethje, something that I don't think a lot of people were expecting, but it happened, right? And Justin Gaethje isn't exactly the type to throw head kicks, but it happened nonetheless, and he set it up just like how Leon did, showing the backhand, the person leading towards the other way and getting hit with a kick, same exact thing. And the funny thing is, right before that knockout happened, I was thinking he really fucked up by showing the head kick early, and I was thinking, man, that's actually a really good idea against Dustin Poirier because he does have a typical boxing style where he does dip his head. So I was thinking, yeah, you could really set that up in the future, but I thought he kind of ruined it because I thought Dustin was going to be super aware now of that high kick, but he still caught him. So credit to Justin Gaethje, knocks out Dustin Poirier cold. Nobody expected that. Like, it was hard to watch. I like Dustin Poirier despite what a lot of you guys think. I know I made a video saying that I didn't think that he was a nice guy, but as I've explained time and time again, that doesn't mean I don't like the person. I just don't think that he's a nice guy, nor does that mean I think that he's a bad guy. But I've gone over this before, on and on and on, and maybe if there's more comments about this, I will clarify in a future video. But yeah, it looks like the talk right now is that Justin Gaethje is going to face the winner of Oliveira versus Makhachev. Don't know if that's necessarily true though, because Volk is also waiting for the shot. You never know what's going to happen in between. Then Gamrot and Fiziev are going to fight. Of course, Fiziev did lose to Gaethje, but you never know how fights are going to go. You never know who's going to be injured. It's all about timing. And honestly, if I'm Justin Gaethje, I'm staying on weight. I'm staying training. Oliveira, remember, he wanted to fight in November, right? He clearly has something going on, some sort of injury that prevented him from fighting in October. He's fighting a little bit early, and he's probably going to be training early, right? So there is a chance he's going to re-injure himself and have to withdraw. I have a weird feeling about that fight. Today, I kind of have a weird feeling. I feel like that fight's not going to happen. I don't know why. It's just one of those fights that I don't think are going to happen, but there's a lot of fights I have like that absolutely nothing happens, so don't worry, guys. I'm an Oliveira fan. Hope he gets the win. But yeah, I'm going to talk more about the fights tomorrow, give some of my thoughts on the main event as well as the co-main event. I'll let you guys know more later, as well as covering the big fight night card this week and the Jake Paul versus Nate Diaz fight. A lot of stuff I gotta make, a lot of videos I gotta make, and a lot of videos I also want to make that I have written down, new original videos. So we're gonna get into that this week. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys can hit the subscribe button, I'd truly appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.